Bartosz Grudziński was a player clearly too good for us. A genuine world-class midfielder that came from Norway but was Polish, he decided that the next step needed to be taken. I thought that was fair, and despite my bitter feeling, I said he could leave at the end of the season, only for my board to blindside me and accept a transfer offer from Manchester United. With the new regime, they didn't even allow me to protest the transfer like with Pawłowski years prior, and in spite of greater offers being accepted, he chose United, leaving me on my knees.
Ubezpieczasz I oszczędzasz cash.
Villa were willing to pay parts of Matty Cash's wages. Granted, he scored an own goal on his debut. Probably the only remarkable thing he did. Losing Grudziński for less than what we should have was tough. Still, it was a lot of money to spend, which brought in Oskar Kwiatkowski following his failed spell at Atalanta. Argentina's center back Adrian Rodriguez, who I'm surprised hadn't been picked up yet, followed. Up next was Artur Duda from Legia Warszawa. Maybe the most controversial signing in the history of the city, he was a player I couldn't miss out on. Along with him, I did buy a lot of Polish players, albeit they were loaned back to their original clubs. I also may have done some Italian accounting, buying this Michał Miskaj from Śląsk for 5 million, while selling Maxi Oyadelli and Kasper Przybylski to them for a little over half the price. Useful in the early stages, it was time to move them on. Selling Pedro Gomes led to the loosening of my foreign transfer rules, from one non-Polish player per transfer window, to now in addition being able to replace a foreign sale with a transfer like with high potential defender Abdikani Ahmed joining. Forewarning, it's gonna loosen up much more. This season felt similar to the previous. We weren't gonna lose the Champions League playoff qualifier versus Albanian champion KF Vllaznia, but I didn't expect to lose to Fenerbahce 4-1. Had to be the Polish guy to score on me. On paper, the fixtures seemed 50-50 on difficulty, although Liverpool, Leipzig, Bayern, and Newcastle consecutively was a daunting task. Yet, just 2 are lost. None were against the English sides, as we were minutes away from a historic win over Liverpool, only for Mirko Banakim to score a late equalizer. You might recognize that name, maybe from this? What about this name? Or this one? A database that has players from all my previous saves? That is this world. If you want to use this database too, I have it available behind specific tiers on my Patreon, YouTube memberships, and even Twitch tier 1 subs. It took a lot of work to make this, which is why it's behind a paywall. Income from YouTube ad revenue is very unpredictable, especially with how much time one of these videos takes to create. I don't like asking for things such as this, but even if you subscribe to the most basic tiers, it is much appreciated. Newcastle at St. James's Park was the biggest win in our club's history. An early second half goal from Kwiatkowski was all that we needed, handing us a 1-0 victory. That excitement and joy, only to lose to Feyenoord at home. Similar to last year, January was key. Thankfully, Slavia Prague were the L takers as we dominated and barely got past them. That had us on 7 points, and a win in Ukraine versus Shakhtar Donetsk would be enough. Against the Premier League rejects, we were doing just that, until we conceded a penalty converted by Emil Højbjerg. We left with a point, and I've been told that 8 is usually enough. I missed up with 7 previously, and this time, we finished in 24th, keeping our run alive. Out of these 8 options we could face, you might think, damn, you got lucky with Feyenoord. I thought so too. They did defeat us when we hosted them. Granted, took a brilliant strike and a penalty as they only mustered 3 shots. Surely, they'll have less luck on their feet. Yet, they were a tough team to crack, and a pretty damn good midfield too. And when the option to officially replace Grudziński arrived with Vujović Jukic, he chose Feyenoord over me! Was this an omen? Yeah, since my options for this vacant role went to Kwiatkowski initially. Defensive deficiencies, however, made me go shopping. Jorge Escudero was the man, although he hadn't learned how to operate in defensive midfield. I'm not providing much hope, and that's because in the 84th minute of Leg 1, Nelson Wiper came out of nowhere to head in the opener. Then prior to the 90th, we conceded a penalty, which I swear is giving me deja vu of Season 2. Wiper stepped to the spot, but got stopped by Bobek, keeping our chances alive for the second leg. Except nope, Alistair Johnston scored early, and we did nothing to close down the deficit. Leaving the Netherlands spitting at some guys' feet who just wanted an autograph, I was just tired. So why have I barely mentioned the Ekstraklasa? Well, why would I? On the penultimate match day, we faced our sole challengers, Lech Poznan. If they won, it would have made for an interesting finale. Instead, they missed this chance in the 90th minute as we lifted our 4th straight league title. The only true competitive competition was, of course, the Puchar Polski. Coming off a stunning loss a year ago, we reached the final again. This time, it would be Raków, who've won several of these already. They've fallen off in recent seasons, although we're on another resurgence. Despite us being the favorites and every opportunity created, I was getting a familiar feeling as it remained 0-0. That familiarity continued into extra time, where Frode Fredriksson got a second yellow, sending us to 10 men for a consecutive year. Unlike then, we didn't score, and neither did the opponent, as penalties determined the winner. With Rakus Kasanvirio missing the second pen, and us scoring our opening 4, it was all up to Kasper Pindor to win us the Puchar. Could he make up for the previous year's tragedy? You've gotta be taking the piss! Raków sent it to sudden death. In round 6, Arloni Obiawa converted his. With the pressure on Rakus Gonzalez, Bobek made sure this wasn't going any further, as we at last won the Puchar Polski after 7 seasons. It was a rare sense of joy which arrives when you become too good for one competition, but not good enough in another. Still, at least we got to celebrate Polonia Warszawa's first Puchar Polski since 2001. So what now? I did mention the restrictions would be loosened. I needed to find European glory sooner rather than later, and that meant improving the roster more rapidly. Say hello to Dominik Kramer from Wolfsberger, Sondre Vik of Bodo Glimt, Samuel Chukwueze on a free, the expensive loan of the Cube from Fulham, and the man I'm gonna call the one.
He is the one.
I think I found him, as Ade Ramos arrived in a record $28.5 million deal from Tenerife. Where is this money coming from? Champions League in it. I did make sales as well. Adam Buchkowski believed he was better than he actually was. Last season, I promised Pavel Majerski that he may be sold for 11 million. I wanted to keep him, but PSV offering up to 20 million couldn't be refused. Concluding, Kazimierz Novak, who is bad in big games, was sold to St. Louis for 24 million. With a few additional sales, including Matty Cash, who did nothing, we were losing a lot of our Polish identity, so we were becoming a normal Ekstraklasa side. I was a little hesitant as I didn't want to become a squad filled with 18 players with little Polish identity. For now, I'll try to limit it up to 11 and fill the remaining spots with Polacks. It will be difficult to buy ones that can start, since most either earn too much, are valued way too highly, or always have a team with a greater reputation after them. There's unfortunately not many great talents out there. My plan was to find a way into the Europa League. Who knows? Maybe we could pull off something incredible. We're already in the league phase, so why are we automatically qualified? Normally, only a champion automatically qualifies if they're in the top 10 of the coefficient ranking. We were 12th. However, Barcelona and Lazio won the champions in Europa separately. That qualifies you for Europe's elite, although they already hold a position domestically. In that case, those spots are given to champions of countries not already in the league phase. That's Belgium and Poland, meaning us. In our third Champions League campaign, we learned 3 things in the league phase. Number 1, Red Bull clubs are our kryptonite. Number 2, Ade Ramos may not be the one with a single Champions League strike. Granted, that arrived versus Barcelona in an incredibly thrilling 3-all, which saw Juliano Mateus grab a hat-trick. Number 3, 1-0 is a superior scoreline. 5 of our fixtures ended like that, whether it was losses like against Bayern and Salzburg, or in clutch victories versus Valencia and Benfica. After the defeat to Salzburg, I went with a cautious approach and even defensive at Bayern. While our goal scoring seems to stutter in these cases, we do enough to make each game competitive, and sometimes we find a way. Not a 1-0, but we got over our Feyenoord demons with an 89th minute winner from Łukasz Piekarski, who was signed from Motor Lublin in 2028. While I don't think he is the guy, it's a solid option off the bench. That resulted in a 13th place finish, where we'd face Bayer Leverkusen in the playoff round. Managed by Bernardino, the former Fortaleza manager was in a weird situation. Second in the Bundesliga, yet in the last month, they suffered a home loss to Real Sociedad, got wrecked in the concluding league phase match to Spurs 9-1. Finally, they got embarrassed by Frankfurt at home before facing us. They got good players in their 4-4-2, including Joel Bellingham, Xavi Simons, and a backline still at their peak. Or maybe not. It was bound to be difficult, but we desperately required progress to be made. Leverkusen were keeping more possession and were on the forefront of the offense. Luckily, Bobek kept it scoreless. Soon after that big save, the one was sent through. Good to Duda, to our playmaker. Now we're entering their final third. The one, Adi Ramos. Oh my days, man, come on. You have 17 finishing. 17! As I was doubting whether he was the one, Bobek continued to ball out. Another Leverkusen free kick arrived. This time, we were able to counter. So much space was given, leading to Duda handing it to the overlapping Szyborowski, who put a pass across to Fredriksson for the opener. The assistee was signed in January, along with Pionkowski, to provide much needed depth. Such a massive goal before the half. A few moments ensuing the interval, we won the ball from a Leverkusen throw-in, leading to a bit of build-up. It would see the cube finding the one, and you know what? He may actually be it. 2-0 Polonia. We couldn't get comfortable, as the hope for a clean sheet came to an end with 20 to go. Xavi Simons was left open, and his shot deflected in. Leverkusen continued to look threatening, but in fact, we countered them, leading to empty spaces for Fredriksson, and he smashed it off the bar. 6 guys forward, the counter was against us, leading to Irankunda getting found. However, Leverkusen again failed to get past Bobek. A massive 8 saves from the Polish netminder gave us a shocking advantage back to Warsaw. To the Narodowe we go, and we didn't change anything until bad news arrived. We had to make a change, since Fredriksson got a thigh strain lasting up to 6 weeks. So if we got past Leverkusen, oh wait, they won the title in this adventure, we wouldn't have him for the round of 16. Such a pity, and that can be said about the Cube, who got his penalty stopped. The home tie was nerve-wracking, especially with another big opportunity wasted. Thankfully, Bobek kept our net clean. That continued into the second, as eventually, Burita would seal our fate into the Champions League round of 16. Bobek though was easily the man of the match, with another 8 saves and an 8.9 match rating. We could be proud of finally reaching this point. It's going to be tough going forward, as our focus remains in Germany, with Bayern Munich drawn. Luis Enrique was in charge, as he managed a strong team with Endrick, Florian Wirtz, incredible French midfielders, and more. Still, we only lost 1-0 to them earlier in the campaign. Granted, they wasted a bunch of chances, but I'd say that's due to how we play. With the first leg in Warsaw, the half-empty National Stadium awaited our fate. Since Fredriksson remained injured, I shifted Kremer, who's been our libero, into defensive midfield. That moved Ahmed to the middle, and brought in Polak Tomaso Guercio into the fold. Beginning the action in the 23rd minute, it seemed as if Bayern were going to bully us. However, the Cube said, "Not on my watch," as he aggressively wins it back, leading to a couple passes where El Amrani sends a ball in behind to the one. And of course, he gives us the lead. Beautiful scenes as Bayern were in for it. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm nervous. I'm nervous when we play out from the back. My face says it all. Despite the setback, we were doing well, and a positive result seemed to be on the horizon. That was until the 89th minute, where for some reason, El Amrani tackled Coyote from a corner kick pass, leading to a penalty. I don't know if there's a mysterious entity mind controlling him or what, because there should be 0 universes where a tackle like this occurs. I'm also a tad salty. Now we had to go to the Allianz and needed a miracle. No changes were required, as our European run was expected to end. The Cube is gonna whip it in. Who can he find? The Cube? No one. But Burita gets the second ball back to the Cube. Boom! Equal in aggregate. The Cube makes it 1-0. Bayern seemed a little too confident, with certain names not being selected and using the 4-2-2 instead of the 4-3-3. Their danger was present, but they rarely threatened in the opening 45. The time breezed past us, as my bench saw little movement. The tiredness of my defensive midfielders did worry me, especially with limited options to replace them. Then, in the 90th minute, oh no, please don't mess this up, guys. Okay, that's good. It's pouring at the Allianz. We are on a good attack. Is just gonna shoot. Bro, we had 5 guys. That's what you did. Extra time at the Allianz, and I did set up some substitutions. Bayern's lineup looked a tad curious, although the tenseness remained. That increased by the end of the half, where Bayern passed it around, catching us out for Vidovic's goal. The squad was clearly dead tired, so even if it meant taking great players off, Fresh legs were the priority. In the final 15, we did just that, went more direct, and told everyone bar the defenders to attack. Following up from a corner, El Amrani whips it in, Piekarski doesn't get on the end of it, Bugai. Yes! Let's go! A new breath of life was sprung, and Bobek too made a crucial stop with minutes remaining. Not too long after the save, when that... Nice. Piekarski. Piekarski, okay. Bugai. What is happening? We beat Bayern Munich. Piekarski's brace off the bench has sent Bayern Munich out. The Champions League quarters, here we land. Bobek again kept us in it, and many pieces of the roster pulled off the biggest night in our history. In the quarterfinal draw, we got paired with AC Milan, managed by me? The crew was Espanyol manager for a very long time. While I won't go into depth about him and the great career he had, or could have had, I knew a man that had knowledge about him inside and out. Our new coach, Wu Lei. It's a shame his intel lacks set pieces. AC Milan are still a damn strong team in Italy, with Raspadori, Rafael Leao, Baturina, Teo Hernandez, and several more. It sucked losing the first leg, as we left and barely dented their net. Thankfully, our best possible lineup was available, it just wasn't their night. Luckily, the second leg was in Warsaw, and while we drew them years ago at the same location, our 11 had significantly improved. All we needed was a goal. In the 18th minute, we got just that from Kwiatkowski. A little lucky, although I wasn't complaining. Now, is it possible to keep AC Milan out? That's been the question every round, and at the break, it seemed fine. That switched 30 seconds later. Despite his brilliance, the Cube is poor defensively, and on his side, Baturina sprinted past him into the box to regain their aggregate lead. Another setback didn't deter the focused faces of our guys, as they went from the kickoff down the pitch, where the Cube put in a brilliant delivery to Kwiatkowski to equalize the overall score again. A brace from the man who failed in Italy. How poetic. Nevertheless, we survived our way to another extra pair of halves. Once again, no subs, and I continued the risk. That could have costed us if it wasn't for the post, or of course, Bobek. The players gave everything, but many had to make way. AC Milan continued to pummel shots on us, yet Bobek matched them. With the final whistle arriving, history was achieved. Not only were we a shootout away from making the semi-final, Bobek broke the record for most saves in a Champions League match. 16 were made. His job, however, wasn't done. Setting up our penalty takers, they were beyond mid. Worse than that, as one of the better takers, Chukwueze, was accidentally written down last. This fixture was happening on my birthday, which was also the Milan manager's birthday. Somebody was going to have a bad day. Thankfully, the Cube settled any of our nerves with the opener. Leao then sent Bobek the wrong way. New signing Pionkowski. Kane, Moises Kane. Bobek stops it! Rodriguez and Reinders both converted theirs, while Ahmed put it top bins. Malik Chow, who scored in the first leg, but Bobek keeps him out! Piekarski could now send us to the semis. He was already clutch versus Bayern. Can he do it again? Let's go! To the semifinals. Barcelona, I see you there. Indeed, it would be Barcelona in the semi-final. Last year's winners held off Liverpool. They've not been a dominant force in our adventure, failing to win La Liga up to this point, but 2 Champions League titles. We know the danger of Juliano Mateus. His partner, though, would be Lamine Yamal. Converted to a striker in Materazzo's 5-back system, it was filled with mostly La Masia kids, or those bought in Laporta's reign. Although, Salvador Poulsen looked like a crazy defender. Oh, and there's Inacio. On our end, we were in trouble. Dominic Kremer was suspended for the first leg, and Adrian Rodriguez suffered a hernia injury, keeping him out for the tie. That meant I had to use Guercho again, as well as Kamil Pionkowski, who was a significant downgrade. With a back 3 playing together for the first time in a European semi-final, it's not surprising that we conceded early to Yamal. Within half an hour, he'd outjumped the previously mentioned Pionkowski to double it. This was quickly getting away from us. So I moved to a more direct and structured approach coach to see if anything else could happen. With a little help, a pass was sent in to the 1 that was misplayed by Ignacio's Mentori as he got us back into it. Still an entire half to keep a respectable scoreline. Unfortunately, we might have ringed out our luck, as despite winning the ball, it fell to Gavi for Barca's 3rd. Then, for reasons, I decided to use the cube as a roaming playmaker, and he'd roam into Fredrickson as they clanked into each other, leading to Pedri's banger. That wasn't ideal, and the world of FM decided to pour gasoline and throw a match into my troubles as Al-Amrani got injured post-match. With Kremer returning in the second leg, he did make an immediate impact by getting a goal relatively early. Sadly, opportunities came far and few between. We tried and did defeat Barcelona. It wasn't enough though, as we lost the aggregate 4-2. Was this my best opportunity at this competition, let alone any in Europe? Who knows?